Welcome to Barber Jabber with me, Gary Spencer. Today I'll be talking to my good friend Hayden Cassidy. We met about 6 years ago, or 5 years ago, when she was working in Dublin at Cut and Sew. She was an apprentice then. And since she's gone on to work all over the world, that many countries and that many jobs I've lost count, I want to find out how she's got there and what makes her tick, what keeps her motivated and what inspires her. So I hope you enjoy it. Welcome, Leah Hayden Cassidy, to this podcast, Barber Jabber, with me, Gary Spencer, Great Barber Bash. How are you, darling? How's things?
Good, I'm not too bad. Yeah, they're good. I'm kind of losing my mind a bit, to be honest. But yeah, no, they're getting it. They're good. Like the first couple of weeks, I think I went into panic mode and just started to kind of fill up my time with as much as I could, and just like get plan and start doing tutorials and doing like so much. And then I think it was like 3 weeks in and I had a podcast with Pope the Barber, and she was like, you just need to take this time to chill, and like, we need to take like the gift of having this time off and stuff. And I was like during my live with her, I was like, oh, you're actually so right. So I've kind of just decided to kind of chill out a little bit now and just take each day as it comes, I think.
Embrace it. I mean, the thing is, for me, I always feel guilty. I keep saying this, I feel guilty when I'm off. And I'm always thinking, if I have 2 weeks, I think I've got to do that. And that's fast approaching. So again, we're always looking forward to that 2 week holiday or week holiday with our loved ones. So this is actually, I feel for some people who struggle for it, I totally get that. But for me, it's been great having 8 or 10 weeks off. I've binged Netflix.
Yeah, I think especially with like your schedule as well. Like both our schedules the last couple of years have been mental, but yours has been crazy. I've been with you for some of them kind of road trips, and I'd say it is nice to just. I think the first couple of weeks it does you do kind of like get a little bit like, oh my God, I'm meant to be going somewhere. You have that feeling like you need to go somewhere, but then obviously. I think it's been hard. The hardest thing I think has just been. I think just being in 4 walls and not really, because we're central London, so we don't have a big beach, we don't have a big park. And I think this was the only time I thought, okay, it would have been lovely to be back in Dublin, because at least I would have been beside the beach and I would have had a bit of nature, which is hard to find in London. But thankfully we have a small, very, very small balcony that we're able to kind of make the most of.
So do you feel that now moving out of lockdown, when we eventually move out, I've got this feeling that, well, I'm going to be really re-energized and I can't wait to get back to it. I'll enjoy my time when I'm off. But do you think it's going to be a real wake up for the industry? Do you think we're going to I was going to Joff the moniker and he was saying it's a reset button. And again, from a tree hugging point of view, I think it's fantastic that people are going to probably consider less traveling and using Zoom a lot more for meetings. But what do you think the impact will be on the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, I think in the barbershops, in the salons, I think they're going to be like overflowing with clients, like so many clients going in. And I don't think it will affect that side of things. But I do think that, events and the like events, workshops, academies, things that people have to travel to, I think maybe might slow down a little bit this year. And I mean, obviously for me, that's kind of hard to think of, because most of what I've done since I come to London, most of what I've done has been traveling and educating, and I've really like pushed that side of things. So at the start I kind of panicked. Well, I actually saw all of the shows starting to be cancelled in February, because I was meant to be traveling throughout all of February, March, and they all got cancelled because they were in Croatia, Poland, Italy, and then I kind of realized, it actually did make me reset and reevaluate and realize, okay, what do I have to focus on now? If this happens again, if, the next year or so, we're not going to be able to travel, what can we do? So I think it kind of pushed me to like look a little bit more closer to home at what I can do and figure out a way kind of around all of this. But I do think that people, I can't wait for the first event that we're all back together, because I think people will realize how much of a luxury it is, and they'll be like, oh my God, because I think what happened was there was so much going on the last couple of years that people started to just take it for granted and like not really, it'd be like, oh, I'll go there if I find a time, but it wasn't really a priority. Whereas I think now people will realize that like that is a luxury, and we most people in the world, unless you're in a place like the UK where you have Great British Barber Bash, or if you're in, you know, if you're in somewhere that there's a constant flow of things to go and things to see, you obviously do start to take it for granted. And I think now we'll realize, you know, oh my God, all these amazing kind of shows and events are there that we can go and see. And I think a lot of people probably around the world in some places, they don't get that. They have maybe once a year, they have an event. And I think, you know, I think we actually got a little bit spoiled in the UK and in Ireland because we had so much. So I think now, hopefully that will kind of make people realize that, you know, we're so lucky to have this, and let's kind of just make the most of it. I mean, me for one, like, I'm like, okay, I can't wait to go and just not even like catch up with people, see what people are doing, get a bit of inspiration. And I think like I'm already buzzing for that first kind of trip that I can go on, because I think, you know, being in the barbershop and being in the salon will be so busy. It'll be so much like, you know, it'll be like going into work, getting everything done. Obviously, you have your PPE, you have all the kind of things you have to look for. And then that first show will be like almost like a holiday for us, you know? It'll be like, yes, we can finally do what we love. And, you know, I think that's
Definitely
exciting.
Definitely. I mean, for me, I mean, although we might moan about certain aspects of what we do, you know, when you sort of have to go to the top of Scotland to do something, or, you know, you go into places where maybe you have to travel a bit more than you want. But I do actually love it. I'd love getting, you know, to the airport 6 o'clock in the morning, jumping on a plane to Dublin or somewhere, Aberdeen or something. And I must admit, I have itchy feet, so I'm really eager.
Yeah, I think definitely, you know what, like when I look back on, obviously I've worked a lot with Great British Barber Bash, and when I look back all of my trips, I think what's so nice about going to those places and hopping on the plane is that, like, you can connect so much with the people that you're going over to, you know, you're going over to see, and they become like your friends nearly for life. When you go into a workshop with such a close kind of knit group, or you go to an event, it's like everybody really is there for each other and they're together. And I think, like, even looking back on it, like one of my highlights of last year, I went to trips all over the world, and one of my highlights of last year was when we went up into Scotland and drove through the whole of the Highlands and stuff, and that was just incredible, you know. Even though it was, obviously, you're getting up early, you're traveling, you're teaching, the people we met were amazing, and obviously you're in some of the most beautiful scenery in the world, so you don't, you know, you get excited, you're jumping on adrenaline. Like my mom even said to me, I was on Zoom to her yesterday, and she was like, how are you dealing with this, like, because you're such an adrenaline junkie, like you need to keep like constantly going. And I'm like, you know, I'm just hoping, I mean, for me, I'm just hoping that there's going to be so much more to do. And I think you just have to obviously do things like this and just focus your energies on something else, because, you know, people like us, our energy don't really go. They're still there, no matter if we have things.
Well, that's it. I didn't realise, I mean, I've always known I can't sit still, but when I've been watching myself back on these videos, I'm like this all the time. I'm like sort of dancing in the chair, and I'm dropping pens and stuff. But no, I mean, that's it. That's another good point we need to appreciate, because sometimes we go over to places and countries and whatever, and it's a bit of like smelling the flowers, isn't it? And, you know, and appreciating it. And we've all got, like me particularly, you know, you get a bit complacent. You know, you go to, I don't know, Cork or something, and, you know, maybe you should just spend a bit more time and enjoy it a little bit. That trip we had to the top of Scotland, I remember that, and that colours when you're going through that area of Scotland was fantastic. Right, okay, I'm going to take you back with my questions, just so people listening can really get a grip. And I've known you quite a while and talked to you lots and lots and lots. I even know what your favourite curry is, which is coconut korma or something, isn't it? What is it?
Yeah, korma. Korma.
For everybody out there, I think your story is very inspirational to have gone from when I first met you and to where you are now. Where did that first step take? You know, were you straight into barbering from leaving school, or what was your first steps in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it didn't probably start the way a lot of people's journey started. And for me, you know, I never planned to be a barber, and I didn't actually even think of it as a career until probably the first year I got myself a job in a sweeping floor kind of junior position in a barbershop. And it never really came across my mind, because obviously, like, I'd never been in a barbershop. I didn't really, I wasn't ever around that area, and nobody really in my family was a hairdresser or a barber or anything. So, I always wanted to be a footballer. I went to America on a scholarship. I was there 3 years and unfortunately broke my leg in a tackle really badly. And it forced me kind of to come home. And when I got home, I was just kind of like, okay, what can I do now? I spent a year working in different jobs, bar jobs, anything I could do. And then I met an amazing barber called Connor Taff, who I'd actually known before. And Connor had just started in the industry, kind of getting, I'd seen him, he'd started to kind of do home cuts, and I could see he was reposting all these barbers and all this kind of world. And I just found myself like so interested in it. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? So, I found myself following all these people on social media before I actually even was picked up at Clippers. And I just think I got fascinated with the industry, as a lot of people do. There's so much into it. When you know someone who's involved in it, it's such a big world. And I think I just got gravitated towards it. And I basically asked Connor, would he take me through a skin fade? And we did a skin fade on one of my mates. One side, I did one side, he did the other. And at the end of it, he was like, you know what, like that was actually very good. But I think you should really think about getting into it. And I was like, oh no, I definitely wouldn't go kind of into that and all. And then the more I thought about it, the more I realized, you can travel with Barber and you can do so much. You can meet people, I can sit and I can talk. And also it's super creative, artistic. So I was like, okay, let me think about it. I got myself a home clipper set, and I think I tried to cut a few people's hair super, super badly. So I did them haircuts, and then I contacted Shawnee Bryan from Cut and Sew Dublin. And I convinced them that I had been a barber for a while, and I convinced them to give me a trial day. And he ended up giving me a trial day on New Year's Eve. And I did that, and I don't know how I got through the day. It was like a fully booked day, obviously the busiest day of the year. I got through it, obviously, with the gift of the gab, and just kept fucking kind of just trying to cut and go through it. And then at the end of it, Sean kind of just turned around, laughed a little bit and said, you know what, obviously I know you haven't been cutting for a long time, but like, I appreciate you coming in here. Like, I can see you're passionate about it, so I'm going to give you a job as a junior barber. So at that stage, he only had one shop in the basement in Temple Bar, and there was 3 of us then that started working there. And I think, being kind of in that first new shop that was like this really cool barbershop, and surrounded by them guys who, like, if I did a bad haircut, they'd pull me up and go, that's like, pardon my French, that's shite, like, you need to do better than that. So I think I had that kind of, I didn't have an easy kind of ride to it, and they were not afraid to kind of give me a bit of stick. I was given the stick back. And I think obviously from playing football from a little kid, you're used to that kind of environment. So I just kind of went in and, ended up just kind of pushing myself and trying. And I think it was only a few months until I actually got on the floor and Sean started giving me haircuts to do, obviously at a discounted rate. And I think I just kept pushing myself and just realized, like, obviously saw the world and saw the industry that was in it, saw the workshops, the shows. I think it was very early on shows, so I had only really been kind of seeing a few things. I think you guys came to Cut and Sew with Alan Beak and did a workshop there. And then obviously I got introduced to you guys, got introduced to Alan Beak. And I think obviously from there, I think the moment I started working in Cut and Sew, it was just like this, like truly madly, deeply love, that just is like all of this world was just so fascinating. And, I think I was on stage the first year I started cutting hair. Alan Beak and yourself, Gary, gave me an opportunity to go in Glasgow. And I still remember the day, like it was yesterday. I was shaking, so nervous, didn't know what to do. And I looked out. I remember at one point the camera zoomed to me, and I think you asked me a question at the exact same time, and my hands started shaking as I was trying to do a clipper over comb. And I remember looking out into the audience and just going, oh my God, what am I doing? But I mean, getting off that stage, you get such an adrenaline. And I think I just realized, how much opportunity was there. And obviously you know, you know me, and I don't really like touching on the whole female barber thing, but I think it's, you know, there wasn't that many females at that time doing kind of
That's right.
being on stage. So I think I just thought, you know, for all of them, for every every person like me who wanted to get into it and found this love, let me just like push myself as much as I can to try and, you know, give other people a platform to be able to see, you know, oh, I could do that. And it doesn't have to be just these people with shops. I mean, I still don't own my own shop, and I've traveled the world. So I think there's different avenues, but I definitely think everything stemmed from just finding a new passion and love for it. And I think that's, you know, I think that will always go above anything else in barbering, because I think obviously you have to have talent, you have to have skill, but you know, it is all about how much you want to put into that. Because if you want to just see it as a job to make money, I think you can get a very busy column and you can live, you know, you can work behind a chair. But I think if you do want to go the next stage and be on stage at your events and them things, you do have to have that kind of push to just push yourself and get out there.
It reminds me, I've never probably told you this, or I might have told you this story when we've had a little drink together or something, but when I was about 20, I went to this very talented hairdresser called Carmine in Philadelphia, and he was fantastically creative. He used to come over to Sassoons every year, and I went to work for him, and he was absolutely brilliant. Really was like a role model for me. But we went to an event with Sebastian in New York, and I met these guys who'd just been in London. I started chatting to them, and cut a long story short, they were doing workshops, and the following week I went to meet them, and one of them was ill. So I then got asked to do the workshop. I'd obviously exaggerated how good I was and how competent I was, but I had the Hayden Cassidy moment because I went to do a workshop in front of 20 hairdressers. I was probably about 19, 20 myself at the time. And I got through it, and that was we started doing the workshops and education with the Barbers years later. If I hadn't have done that little tweak to my resume, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That probably would never have happened. So it just shows you that it's a lot of it is sort of technique and ability, but a lot of it you do have to have that personality, don't you?
Yeah, I think you have to have the confidence to just be like, you know, okay, if this doesn't work and if I crash, you know, it's okay. Like I'm allowed, but you know, let me see how much I can get away with before that happens.
Too right, of course. We've so far done 3 podcasts, and they've all been with Irish people, which they're good friends of mine. What is the culture? Why have we seen so many great barbers coming out of Ireland and Dublin in particular? You know, there's been so many, and we've had them at our shows. But what is it about Dublin culture that's so vibrant?
I mean, I think one of the things about Dublin culture, like, I mean, I think obviously not even Dublin, Ireland and the barbershop industry, like obviously I started in Dublin, and I think what you found a very, like, you know, if you talk about Dublin in size, it's quite small. So you find a small city of people who are super, super passionate and super eager to kind of push themselves and create these barbershops. And I mean, I think because it's so small that everybody might know each other and everybody sees each other, and there is that competitiveness. So, you know, you do have that competitiveness in obviously Dublin, especially because it's such a small space with so many shops. But I think in another way, I think, you know, everybody is so supportive as well of each other and wants each other to build. So, I mean, look at Paddy Corrigan, Sean Bryan, you know, Ryan Cullen, Neil Toner, you know, Jay Faze. Yeah. Even Jay was the first one who was beside me on stage with Neil Toner, Ryan Cullen, and they were all going, come on, you're good. Come on, we got you. We're right beside you. And I think, you know, if I didn't have that kind of community and that basically that wall beside me that I could like take on the world, that's literally how they made me feel. And if I didn't have that, you know, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I think that's a big part of obviously I think the talent and the culture in Ireland especially, is that there is people there that are willing to kind of help you and help you get to the next stage. And I think it's a great thing for barbering in general. Like, I mean, it's one of my ethoses when I started is, you know, I want to make sure that everyone, you know, when I'm teaching a workshop, that everybody is understanding, everybody is kind of growing from this and learning. And I think the thing about it is to have that community and to have that support system only means that you're kind of looking up into positivity and goodness. And I think that's a lot that got to do with it. And also, I don't know if it's something in the water, because I'm seeing 16-year-olds come out of Ireland and they're like fading and cutting better than I've ever cut before. So
awesome.
I mean,
What you're talking about though is exactly what we set the Barber Bash up for, which was the support. And we always went in those days. That particular show, which I'll talk about in a minute, was actually one of my favourite ones. And the idea was to have 2 or 3 more established people and a newer person like yourself, and for that to be like a catalyst for them to grow. So it really does show how much that's worked. But also you touched on before about, the traveling we do and how we make friends. And you mentioned going up to the north of Scotland and working with people like, and that girl was called Terry Nicholson. And it's just amazing how we've set up this community, haven't we? That, we've got friends. I mean, I'd never been to Ireland really till I started the Barber Bash 5-6 years ago. And now it's like I'm there every few weeks, and it's amazing we've got friends and we can travel around and either have a drink or a pizza with them all over the place. So that side of it has been absolutely brilliant. Going back to the female in barbering thing, we were getting a lot of stick at the time, actually, for not putting females on. And what people didn't realise is it was hard to get somebody who wanted to go on stage because not everybody wants it. Some people are happy doing the clientele, and that's fantastic. But has there been any obstacles, or do you find it's just been plain sailing for you being a female in barbering?
No, I think there has been obstacles. But I think the thing is, I have had, obviously, like as every female barber out there will kind of know and understand, I have had the days where, you get a smart comment from a client you're cutting, or you get someone that tells you you're great at cutting for a girl, or, all of them things you get constantly. And I think it's just what I kind of learned to do early on is I learned to kind of just, people can say comments, people can make these kind of remarks or see it as a little bit less, just say, if they will, or if they are going to do that, they can do that. But it's about your reactions, and it's about how you react to that situation and how you kind of deal with that situation. And like, I think for me, it was about understanding, okay, I am in a male dominated industry, but I can take the stick, I can give the stick back, and I can't stand my ground. So if someone, like I had a guy in Berlin one time who refused to get his beard trimmed with me because I didn't have a beard and I was a female, and I was like, well, you know where the door is.
You have got quite a heavy top lip though, haven't you? I like it though. It tickles me when we kiss.
And I think things like that, it's just about standing your ground and being confident in it, and also using it as fuel to kind of, obviously seeing that there was not that many females out there. And I remember Alan actually rang me, and when he rang me and asked me to go on stage, I think he actually said, we keep getting asked, why isn't there any females on? There's a lot of hairdressers at the show and we want there to be someone. And I think he knew that I kind of had that, okay, I'm just going to go and do it and just like put myself out there. And I think he kind of saw that in me and knew I wouldn't be worried too much about what other people think. And I think that's the key to it, is just to be confident in your own skin and your own ability, and just to be able to kind of just, prove to yourself. And the thing is, it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to like not get everything correctly, because we're human, and that's when we grow and that's when we learn from. But like, I mean, I think what I have seen in the past few years anyway is, and what I sometimes give myself a pat on the back for, is because in the UK and Ireland, there wasn't, obviously, as you said, so many people going on stage. And now we go to the Great British Barber Bash, we go to an event, we go to a workshop, we go into a barber shop, and you see just as many females as you do males. So it's like, I think slowly but surely we are getting past this kind of female barber, male barber thing. And I think that and I think that's nice, and I think that's something that was needed in the industry. But I don't think, obviously, without social media, or without, the events that you've had, or without any of them things, I don't think people would have really seen that, okay, I can get just as far being a female as I can in male, because obviously it's a male dominated industry. And I think, I even look at Dublin now, and there's some incredible female barbers in Dublin, and I get messages from them all the time, and they're really pushing the standard, they're pushing the game, and there's some of the best barbers in Dublin, so I think I think it's nice to see that. And obviously I came away from that industry, and obviously I traveled a lot. I went to Berlin and I took myself around, but definitely, you know, coming back to the UK and settling now in the UK and Ireland, it just makes me so happy to see like so many females out there smashing it as well. And I think that,
definitely.
you know, I think the other thing is, I think that the barbering industry and the males in the industry have given females such amazing support. And I think that's the thing, you know, I'll go in and I'll have Ryan and I'll have Luca and I'll have all these amazing people that have constantly supported me. And you know, I put up a thing about my new website. I'm launching some apparel, and I put that up the other day, and all of a sudden I got messages from Zach Ramsey. I got messages from so many amazing figures being like, oh, put my name down on the list. I want to get one of everything and all this. And I think, you know, I think the industry is just it's about supporting everybody and just knowing that, you know, we can build each other
up with an idea. You've given me an idea that what I'll do for you when you launch that website, I've got a big mailing list there with 8,000 salons and shops on. I'll do a mail shop for you. There you go.
Look at you.
So I'm showing some support, but I need to get a double XL with a bit of lycra in for me. When you left Cut and Sew, going back to that, you've been at Cut and Sew, you worked with Sean Bryan, really cool. Obviously, then you moved on to the next stage of your career. Where was that, and why did that come about?
Yeah, so I started off at Cut and Sew, and then I went actually to the Demon Barbershop, the Ink Factory, which was with Thomas Bean, and that was kind of, I saw, you know, from Cut and Sew, obviously at that time we had a lot of, you know, young kind of kids getting their fades, and it was very like a skin fade shop, and I mean there was everything else, but I decided I want to learn a little bit more about like the old school barbering craft and the shaves and, you know, the services. And I went to Thomas because he was one of the best shavers, still is one of the best kind of hotel shavers in Dublin. And I went to him and kind of got like this found another love for this other side of the kind of industry. And at the time, I think I'd met Miguel. So I had met Nomad Barber in Liverpool, Barber Bash it was. I'd met him and got chatting to him, and we followed each other on Instagram. And then he had put up that he wanted to, well, I had already followed him. Sorry, just putting it out there. He was like one of my idols, you know, like, and I saw he put up ads that he was opening up in Berlin, and I kind of messaged him, and he would he just said, we'd love to have you over here if you want to come over and check the city out for a day or two, and like check the vibe of the shop. So it was literally, I think the week that the shop opened, I flew over to Berlin and I went there for 2 days. I brought my brother with me. And we stayed in Berlin for like 2 days, and I just was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to come over here. And I felt that, yeah. And I felt like, you know, I felt for me, like if I was to grow, and I felt, you know, for me to grow, I would need to get out of my comfort zone, get out of, you know, my familiarities of being in Dublin, and, you know, go and meet new people and see this new world. And I think it was important for me in my career and also as a person. You know, I'd come back from America. I'd gotten straight into kind of working in Cut and Sew after a while. And I think I just needed that space for myself. So I went over to Berlin 2 weeks later. And I worked for Nomad for a year when he first started his shop. So me and Nick Barford started there together, and we were there for about 6 months together before he kind of got anyone else in. And we worked the busiest days, fully booked 3 weeks in advance. It was a massive success, beautiful shop. And again, after about a year being there, I realized, you know what, I want to kind of change things a little bit, and I want to learn some new skills. And I decided, I'd heard about this kind of Afro specialist shop who did kind of cornrows, mostly like was kind of specialized in Afro hair and stuff. And I'd heard about this shop. It was a barber shop called Ebony and Ivory. And I decided to go over to them and kind of, I messaged them first to ask them would they give me a trial, and they never got back to me. So I went in and I basically just knocked on their door and was like, do you have any work? And I think it was something that I felt like, you know, I really wanted to kind of learn a lot about Afro hair. I hadn't kind of had it as much, you know, I didn't have many clients. I knew a little bit about it, but I really wanted to push that. And I basically wanted to get to the stage where I could push every aspect of hair, know every single client, know all about their hair. And for me, that was a successful barber, you know, someone that was ready to kind of cut So I went in to Ebony of Ivory, and I remember that the day they were having like some party in the shop, and I walked in and they all were just kind of looking at me like, what, who is this? You know, like me coming in, can I have a job? But eventually they kind of, you know, they took me in and they were like, all right, let's see what you kind of got. And I think they actually made me do a haircut there and then, and I did a haircut. And they were just like, whoa, this girl can cut, and like, you know, just give me kind of stick and banter. And I started working there, and honestly, it was one of the most energetic, most vibey, kind of brilliant shops I've ever worked in. I learned so much because I learned from people who, like, one of the guys who worked beside me was this barber from Ghana who learned by just cutting on the streets of Ghana, you know, and then like just kind of progresses into kind of coming to Berlin and then working in a shop. But he kind of just knew everything, like all the little tips and tricks, you know, about hair that you'd only know if you were kind of so immersed in it, you know, never kind of been trained educationally or been trained in a workshop, but just knew hair. And I think I just stayed there for another year. I learned there so much and I was so happy there. And then decided, I think Danny at the time, my girlfriend, she works in fashion, and she wanted to kind of make the move to London. So it was kind of for her, and then also for me, my education that I was doing myself, my education I was doing with Andis was starting to kind of really take off a little bit. And London is such an easier city to kind of travel to all these places from than Berlin is. So I thought, you know, it was going to be best to kind of go to London and push that side of things, push my education. So when I went to London, I worked in, well, I still do. I have a couple of days in a couple of shops in Covent Garden. One is Ruffians, one is Wacky Barbers. But for me, I didn't want to be full-time in a shop when I came to London because I really wanted the time to be able to kind of push my education. And I realised that was what I was super passionate about. And I needed, I mean, you know yourself what it's like, Gary, when you kind of do them days traveling and you're kind of...
Takes a lot out of you.
Takes a lot out of you. So to try and do that and to try and work for full time in a salon I don't think is possible the way kind of I was working it. So I decided to just start freelance and just kind of push my education, and that led me to kind of where we're at now.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned though about the Andis job. I mean, obviously, I know that what's the product title? Global Educator.
Yeah.
And when did that get offered to you first? How did that come about? Because that's interesting for a lot of people out there. A lot of people want to know about how to become ambassadors for things, or are you chosen, or do you approach a company? How did it start?
Yeah, well, I mean, my opportunity came a little bit different than other people's. And it's usually what you have to do if you want to be an educator is you send a video into yourself speaking, and, you know, obviously get on their radar first by tagging them and liking them and kind of sharing a lot of their kind of things. Send a video when they're looking for educators, send a video in of you speaking and educating, and then obviously it has to go through all the levels before it's passed. I was actually in ISSE, which is a trade show in Long Beach, California. And I had an opportunity to go there with another company that kind of brought me out as a guest spot. And I went there and I was doing the Barbarella show, which was a show that Kevin Lutchman put up with Ms. Utani. And they put together this show, like it was all female. So it was where I met Pope. Stay Gold was on it, Taylor Levin.
Oh,
yeah, there was so many. It was actually Tori Gill was there as well. There was an amazing lineup of female barbers and we were all doing the stage show. And afterwards, I went on, basically, I was actually on stage with Pope and I went on, did my thing. And I'd been working for this other company educating in ISSC as well. And where that booth was for that company, this booth was actually right beside it, this massive big booth with this big stage. And I'd gone over just to kind of have a look. And the education manager actually there at the time was Jessica. And she came over to me at ISSC and was like, oh, hi, like I actually follow your work and stuff. And I was like, oh, thanks. And then I just had a little chat with her. And then she was at Barbarella, that event I did too. So after I came off the stage in Barbarella, she just came up to me and said, you know, I'd really love to kind of, we're looking for a new educator in Germany and in Europe. So obviously I was based in Berlin and they were like, would you be interested in kind of being part of the team? And I, at that stage, had only ever used the foil shaver and the Slimline Pro with Andis. So I said to her, you know, if I don't really know what the clipper side of things are like, because they weren't that big in the UK at the moment. You know, they had obviously so many clippers available in America. In America, it was like such a big kind of big culture there. You know, it's one of the biggest kind of brands there. But over here, obviously, they're international clippers.
It was limited. It was limited.
It was limited, yeah. So I obviously told her, you know, I'd love obviously the opportunity. Thanks so much for the opportunity, but I can't obviously agree to anything, and I wouldn't kind of do anything unless I feel 100% about the tools and I'm comfortable and I like them. And I think that's the biggest thing for anybody who's looking to be an educator or, you know, an ambassador, I think, is believing in what you're kind of trying to stand behind. Because I think if you don't believe in that, it's very hard to get up on stage and try and kind of spoof it. And, you know, I think for me, that was the most important. Is at this stage, I had some followers on Instagram, and I was like, I don't want to be standing behind a brand that, you know, my followers are going to look at and go, oh my God, like, these are great clippers. And if they're not great clippers, I don't want to be pushing them out to my followers, because I've gained them and respected them. You know, I respect my followers.
100%.
So I think it's important in any brand work you do. And that's why, you know, right now I'm working with obviously Andis, but they basically sent me out the clippers, and they sent me out, and I took I'd say about 3 or 4 months to kind of get to know the clippers, use them in the shop, use them on every different hair type and stuff. And at the start, I was like, oh, you know, when you start using the new clippers, it's like when you start first trying to drive a new car, you know, you're a bit like, oh, what's going on here? Let me just go back to my old one, you know. So it took me a while to kind of get used to it. And then after a while, I just realized, you know, I fell in love with the clippers. I thought they were amazing. And kind of the company as well. I really liked the company and the way they supported you, kept in contact with you. So yeah, I decided to sign the deal and say yes. And it's been 2 years since I've been with Andis, and I just signed another 2-year contract. So
what with that, and 2 questions I'm going to ask you. First of all, just very quickly, just without being a big selly thing, what are your 3 go-to things with Andis? What are your 3 favourites that you take with you everywhere?
I would say, 3 is hard. I take them.
Go for.
Okay, go for. So my clippers that I would take is a US Pro cordless, a lithium US Pro cordless, and I have the Fade Nation, so I have the Fade Blade one on that. I also have a US Pro without the Fade Blade with a taper on, so I'm going to put them as one tool and take the both of them and just take the extra blade. So that's my clippers, my go-to clippers. My Slimline Pro, obviously I love my Slimline Pro. My foil shaver, and I don't leave anywhere without my cordless T outliner as well, which is an amazing, amazing kind of clip trimmer. But, you know, I have so when they first released these, just for anybody who kind of bought them when they first released them, they have a shallow tooth blade on them. So they didn't have the GTX blade on. Now, obviously, when you buy them and they'll come with the GTX blade on. So the blade, what that means is your blade on the cordless T outliners, if you buy now, will be the kind of same deep tooth blade as the Slimline Pro. So it's super sharp, puts into everything. And, you know, for me, I kind of use that as even my zero guideline and stuff to kind of create that guideline. And I think it's just to have them 2 trimmers. Everybody always asks me, why do you have 2 trimmers in your kit? And I think it's obviously, you'll know the Slimline Pro, if anybody uses them, the Slimline Pro blade is a lot smaller than the T outliner blade. So for me, you know, doing a C shape around the temple, getting around the ears, the Slimline Pro is a lot easier. But if I'm doing like a shape up, if I'm working in the back of the neck, or if I'm doing my zero guideline, my T outliner is kind of my go-to. So they're my 4.
Fantastic. What about, and the other question I was going to ask you regarding Andis was, so from getting that job with them, just give me a rough idea as to what your calendar with them is like. I mean, is it 4 shows a year, 6 shows a year? What type of stuff have you been doing for them?
Yeah, I mean, since I've kind of started with them, I've gotten probably on average about 4 or 5 shows a year. So we have obviously a massive team of educators in Europe, a massive team of educators in Australia, and also America is like our biggest here, and Canada is our biggest tier of educators as well. So we have educators around the world. So basically we work kind of in segments nearly as you want. So, you know, if there's obviously shows in in Europe, sometimes they'll send people from obviously that country, or sometimes they'll send us. So there's a few global educators. I'm one, Baldy's one, there's a few others out there. And basically what I've gotten, I mean, I've been to New York last year. I've been with Andis. I was at New York BarberCon. I've been to Italy. I've been to Germany. And I've been to kind of all over, but like obviously you have your ones in London as well. So what that would entail is us obviously going out maybe 4 or 5 times a year and doing these trade shows. So it means getting on stage and obviously working kind of and doing demonstrations, and then helping around the booth and helping people with kind of information and just kind of being the faces to the tools. So there's been a lot of other things we do. We do a lot of kind of content creation. We do academy. There's a master barber school, which Andis have as well. And we provide kind of, so if anybody wants tutorials or more fades or more about Andis stuff, there's master barber school you can go on, and that's actually videos from myself, from Baldy, from Tori, from Kenny Duncan, so all around the world, and it's kind of tutorials for that. So yeah, there's been a lot of amazing opportunities with Andis, and hopefully there's going to be a lot more in the next coming years as well.
Brilliant. I mean, I've seen you at those shows. Salon International is one you do, and you're always busy working. Obviously, Barber Connect you do as well. It's not as easy as people think, is it though? Because you're up early, you're cutting you work harder than anybody on them. So how many cuts will you do today? How many hours do you work on those days? It's sort of non-stop, isn't it?
Yeah, it's non-stop really. Like it is, obviously we get our lunch breaks and our breaks, but you know what, like I guarantee you, I've worked in the busiest barber shops in the world where I've worked 9 till 9 and not had a break. Them shows take so much more out of me than any day I've worked in the shop. And it's literally just because you're constantly, there's no off button, so you're constantly on. You know, you're constantly kind of performing and you're giving out your information, you're giving your knowledge.
It's constantly in your mind, I think, isn't it? Your mind is constantly working to get the model. What's the model going to look like? Then you cut in the model, and you're filling every minute with conversation, I think, as well, exactly, aren't you?
Yeah. And obviously also you have to be on your best performance, your haircut wise and your speaking wise as well. And I think, you know, for us, our day starts at 8 a.m. And then our day doesn't really, like, we pack up and we finish at about kind of obviously 6 or wherever. But that whole time from 8 till 6, we could be on the booth stage or we could be on the main stage at whatever event it is. Well, it just kind of rotates. So I mean, when you look at a roster, when you get an Andis gig and you look at a roster and you see there's 5 educators, you're like, yes, at least I'll have a little bit of time to kind of grab a coffee. When you look at a roster and you see there's 2 educators, you know it's going to be a heavy weekend. So but you know what, the reason we do it, and like a lot of people will kind of come by and see us up there and like, you know, like, how did they get up there, like, or not even how did they get up there, but like, I want to go up there. But if you are thinking you want to get up there, I think it's just important to realize, you know, it's not just getting up and just kind of like about it's graft. It's a lot of graft, but it's amazing. And you know, even in the UK, we have an amazing team of Kev Worley, Baldy, obviously. We have Kira, we have Jared, who I love. I've loved kind of speaking with Jared and being up on stage with Jared. We've had a few really nice shows together, and he's such a nice guy, and I think his work is absolutely incredible. So yeah, it's been an exciting time, and obviously you get to meet people and be inspired by so many incredible barbers all the time. So yeah,
that's it. I just want to mention as well, because we're probably going to finish in about 15 minutes or so. If anybody does want to ask you any questions after they picked up this podcast, or ask me any questions, just feel always free to drop me a message. Instagram for Hayden Cassidy, Instagram for Great British Barber Bash, Facebook, WhatsApp, anything. Just get in touch with us, because we always want to try and help people and give them any advice we can along the way. One of the things I did see you do, which I was like really impressed with, and I think you loved it as well, was the Brazil show I saw you at. Have you been there once, or and what was that like? That show in Brazil, it looked fantastic.
Yeah, it was incredible. I think that was like the highlight of my career. It was one of those career moments where I just felt like, okay, if something happens and I can never cut again, I've done it now. Like, you know, like that was the highlight. Like, but no, it was incredible. I was in Brazil. I was in Belo Horizonte, which is a city, a massive city. I was going to say big, but it's probably the size of Ireland. And that was I went there for 5 days where Kevin Lutchman was a part of the lineup. Bird Mena, who was part of Sharp Fade, he was part of the lineup, and also Zaina, who's also a barber from Russia.
Russia?
Yeah, Russia. I don't think he's actually from Russia, though. I remember him telling us he's not actually from Russia. I can't remember where he is. But anyway, we went over to Brazil, and I got the opportunity, basically. I got contacted, and this is a show which is in like a massive theatre in Brazil with thousands of people. Probably one of the biggest shows. I think in previous years, Josh LaMonica and stuff has done it, and Harry Ego. So, I mean, it's pretty intense, but it was incredible. It's 4 hours on stage. So it's 4 hours, just me on stage.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's a crowd of just thousands of screaming, passionate, amazing Brazilian barbers who are just like, wow, like you say hello and they're like, wow, like so. But
how did it go? How did it go? Wah!
Yeah.
Cool.
So no, it was incredible, and you know what, the passion there, and just the whole. I think I felt so inspired from the moment the plane actually landed. And if anybody has ever been to Brazil before, I hadn't. So I really felt like when you were flying over Brazil and when you were about to land, you literally feel like you're in a different universe. You know, you really feel like you're far away. And the only obviously other time I had that was I went to Indonesia a few years ago for another barber trip, which was incredible. So those two are probably my top two. But going there, you know, going to them places, you just feel like, for me, it was really like I was just kind of pinching myself, because I was like, I'm a barber from Dublin who is now being like one of the only, like I was the first female, I think,
Yeah.
to that Brazil show. And I was like, I'm a barber from Dublin and I'm going over here, landing here to do this incredible show. And the production in it was insane. And like, you know, I think I did 6 models and talked each about each model, and, you know, the love, I went out. We actually, when we left the room, so when we went out to the front kind of corridor of that show, we actually had to have a security guard. Me and Bird went out and we had a security guard, and people had to were just like loving us and hugging us and getting photos and selfies. And it was like, I was like, oh my God, I'm a barber and I feel like I don't know, Celine Dion, you know, you're just like, what?
Yeah.
And then, you know, we all got kind of, yeah, it was just incredible. The people there are so amazing. So it's the Barber Day conference, and I think, yeah, it was just such a good show, and it was so nice actually to experience it with especially Kev, because Kev has been a massive mentor for me since I started. And I think he's obviously been a big kind of inspiration for a lot of barbers who started out. And, you know, to have him with me going through this, he helped me so much, even backstage. I mean, I was probably the most nervous I'll ever be. And I think having him backstage, he kind of gave me tips. He helped me. He calmed me down. And then actually when it was his turn, I did the same for him the next day, because he was a bit like, wow, yeah. I didn't realize how much this is, you know, so... but yeah, it was incredible. We had such a good trip, and I think it's that them little moments are definitely what when you realize, you know, am I dreaming? Is this a dream? And like, these opportunities are just so incredible that I just can't believe it.
Definitely. Right, so talk a little about your travel and stuff. You've talked about being in Berlin. You've talked about coming back to London. So lockdown aside, what's happening now? You're at Ruffians, you're at Wacky Barbers, and what other things are you up to at the moment, lockdown allowing?
Yeah, well, like as I said, obviously in February I had like 6 amazing trips planned for like hair shows, which I know a lot of people were kind of a little bit upset about, but hopefully we'll get them back to it. But that was Poland, and there was Croatia and a few of them. But obviously that kind of, this whole thing prevented that. So I don't know. I can't really obviously foresee the future and what laws are going to come in and travel wise and restrictions. So I don't really know what's going to happen this year. Some of them got rescheduled to October, November, but we just don't know right now. So, I mean, what I really decided to do and realize is I've started to kind of slowly kind of tap in a little bit to kind of session styling. And I have myself an agent here who's Emma Davies' agency, and she is my agent for any fashion work. So I've done a few shoots with, you know, different magazines, all fashion kind of related magazines, and done a men's hair for that. So I've really kind of gotten into that, and that has been something that's kind of I've been really passionate about while being in London, and it's something that obviously I need to be in London for. So I pushed that a bit. Me and Danny did a couple of shoots just before lockdown, which was amazing to get them in. They'll be released in a couple of weeks for different magazines. And I've obviously put a lot of time into that. So I'm going to continue to push that side of things as well. And then also I've actually, I'll let you, Gary, know. I'll let you know, Gary, because you've been there since.
Don't tell anybody else.
Actually, don't tell anybody else.
Are you pregnant?
What?
Are you pregnant? Because Gary is a lovely name and it's making a big comeback.
No, I'm definitely not pregnant. No, I've been looking at getting my own studio space. So I've got to have my own, hopefully in the next couple of months, have my own private studio for my clients, and to work on a lot of content and do a lot of more kind of amazing stuff just to push my brand over the next few months. So I'll hopefully have one. It's all kind of being kind of work behind the scenes right now, but that's what I've really been pushing and working on. And, you know, it will allow me to have space to kind of create loads of more kind of online education, and also, you know, have my own space for doing shoots, and then obviously just me in a studio. I took inspiration obviously from the guys in America and what they're doing and how they're kind of pushing it, and I think it kind of, for me, it's something that would work. I never really want to own my own shop, and I would never really want to have my own kind of people I have to look after. And I think having the journey, doing what I'm doing, I think it's nicer to kind of build a brand that I can take anywhere and have in this kind of studio space. So that's what I'm working on right now, and I'm really excited for that. I think it's going to be really nice, and I'm going to incorporate a lot with different creatives. I have, you know, my apparel I'm working for. I have graphic designers from all over the world that I'm collaborating with to produce something that, you know, that is just a little bit different and go into that. I mean, I take a lot of inspiration obviously from skatewear brands and stuff like that, and I think, you know, it's something I've always been passionate about as well. So it's going to give me the opportunity to be able to kind of push that as well. Obviously I'll be tied in towards the Hayden brand and things like that. So you got the exclusive. Brilliant. That's what I'm working on now. Yeah, I
love it. I think that's a brilliant idea. It reminds me of what all the sort of people like Julius and them are doing over in the States, and I think it's fantastic because there's so many outlets for your creativity there, isn't there? Right, so we're drawing to a close there. I just wanted to ask you maybe one last question. There's so many things we could have touched on. We'll have to do this again. Give me 3 people that you would recommend people to follow, or who have influenced your career in this journey you've had. Who have been 3 names that you can pick out and say, that person helped me, or that person worked or motivated me?
Yeah, I would say Alan Beak. Can I do 4?
Do 4.
No, yes. Obviously, there's so many amazing people out there. You know, so many amazing friends of mine, and I'd love to name you all. But I'd say Alan Beak, Kevin Lutchman, Jodie Taylor, and also Charlie Gray as well. Charlie, I've been really, you know, Charlie, I've started to work a little bit more with Charlie and kind of know we're both in London, we're both now kind of freelance stylists and stuff, and we both have similar visions and, you know, the way we kind of look at things. So I think I've really got a lot of help off him, and he's taught me kind of, he's kind of helped teach me a little bit more about things in terms of kind of business and stuff like that as well. So he's a massive inspiration as well, and it's been a really great help. So I'd say them 4. But obviously there's so many out there that I'd love to know. It's hard.
Brilliant. Well, that's a great answer. Listen, so we've got so many more things we can talk about. We definitely have to do another one of these. As we said before, if anyone wants to contact you, they can just contact you through Instagram, or they can contact you on your own website you've got set up. Have you got that set up now?
So my website's about to be launched, and I'm going to launch it obviously with a limited amount of my first launch of apparel, and that will be launched hopefully in June, and that I'll get that out. So that will be www.haydencassidy.com. My Instagram is Hayden_Cassidy, and my YouTube is Hayden Cassidy here. There, all my main.
Fantastic. Right. Well, listen, this has been a great conversation. I'm not quite finished yet. Give me one bit of advice you would give to any young barbers, the young Hayden Cassidy starting out, cut and sew. What would be your advice you would have given her starting out, and what would you give to the new flock of barbers or the new collection of barbers that are coming through?
Yeah, I think my advice would definitely be to, you know, I think to just surround yourself by the right people, to the right group of people. Yeah. Ask as many questions as you can. Take your time and realize that you don't have to be, you know, you don't have to be on stages or teaching. You don't have to be on stages or teaching in a week or in the next day. You know, you can take your time with it and discover what you like, what you don't like, and discover every avenue. So I think what I would have loved to tell any barber is don't just kind of get stuck in one way of cutting or in one place. Like, go and experience different things, and, you know, just also be confident in yourself and trust yourself, and realize it's okay to make mistakes. I think that's the biggest thing for young barbers. They kind of they do one bad haircut and think it's the end of the world. It's definitely not. All of us make bad haircuts. All of us make mistakes, and they're the times that we kind of learn and grow from. And they're the actually, when you look back on it, when I look back on my career, they're the times that kind of made me who I am. So don't ever kind of regret your mistakes, because they'll lead you into the right path.
Yeah, it's like us with doing shows. There's been a million great moments, but the things that come to my forefront, I know I shouldn't say this, but 3 or 4 things that I've made a mistake with. But the good thing is I try and make sure that'll never happen again, you know, a sound problem or whatever. Well, listen, thank you so much. It's been really, it motivates me doing this. I love it. And it gets me energized again. I'm ready to go. Hopefully, we're going to do a couple of one-day workshops, hopefully in September, October, when dates come right. We're planning, hopefully, on doing a Manchester and Edinburgh show in November, if times are right. Hopefully, you'll be there. Well, thank you so much. I think your story is very inspirational. The fact you've come so far in that period of time, the fact that you've done all that traveling, it's brilliant. Brilliant for people from Dublin, for people from Ireland, for females, for anybody. So thank you so much. And I'm missing you because I've not seen you in a long time. Take care and good luck. And if you do get pregnant, Gary is the name.
I'll remember that, Gary. Right. I love you.
Thank you very much.
And stay safe.
No problem. And I'll see you soon. Thank you very much.